Find something that makes you happy because at the end of the day, there's no point doing anything just for the money. It's never going to make you happy.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Caroline Balinska. Previously, episode 709 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 11 months, 2 days, 23 hours, and 45 minutes since we last had that conversation.
Have a plan, know what you want to do with the business, and know your marketing plan. And it's really not that hard.
That was then. This is now. Caroline, how are you doing today?
Wow, I cannot believe it's been so long. What on earth has happened to those couple of years? That is amazing. It's great to be back again. Thanks for having me again.
Well, I am so glad to have the opportunity to highlight what you do in the space. Now, give us an update. The last time we were speaking, the marketing word was definitely one that came to the forefront. Have you continued with that?
I have, but now I concentrate only on e-commerce stores. So my first e-commerce store was about 12 years ago now, or 13 years ago. And since then, I've been working with all different types of businesses. And in the last, just over a year ago, I really went into just working with Shopify merchants. And that's where I sit at the moment. So we've got a lot of different things in that space. We help merchants that are newbies. They're in their first up to $10,000 a month. And we do something very different that no one else is doing out there. And I found this, anyone listening, whether you're trying to think of a new business or whether you need help with e-commerce, this is going to make sense to you. But what we did was I realized that there were a lot of marketing companies out there doing marketing for e-commerce stores. And I realized that there was no one helping small e-commerce merchants who were starting out and didn't have a large amount of money. So we do a monthly package. People sign up and then each day they can get a different task done, sort of like Fiverr.com, but only for Shopify merchants. And very specifically that I have a team. So if you put in a task and that task is not the right task for you right now, then we'll say to you, hey, don't do that right now. Choose something else. Because somewhere like Fiverr, if you put in a task there, they're going to say, yes, I'm going to take your money. You don't know if you're doing the right thing. So what we do is we really have that support and the help, but we've taken out that middle management where you sort of manage your own work, do what you can yourself, and then we do the things that are too hard for you or you don't want to spend time learning.
Now let's tie back the part of our conversation where you were traveling across the world. Are you still doing that?
No, so that's actually a very big change in my life. So 3 years ago, so it would have been just around the time we last spoke actually, I met a guy in the Netherlands. So I was traveling across the world and I was on my way to Canada and stopped into Amsterdam for a week to visit some friends and said, I'm not leaving. I love this place. And pretty much met a guy on one of those dating apps that, everyone talks about these dating apps. They do work. And I met a guy on that. He's got 4 kids. And like I was telling you before we started this, one of them's home now for the holidays. So I'm actually now a stepmom to 4 kids.
Wow. That's intriguing. You would think, right? I mean, I have 3 children now, right? When I spoke with you a couple of years ago, you had no children, and now you're ahead of me.
Yeah, exactly. But, I'm the eldest of 4, and I was always the local babysitter. I always looked after my little brothers and sisters. So while a lot of people say to me, wow, what a difference, people who have known me all my life say, this is actually you. Like, this is the Caroline that we know, the one that's the family maker, the one that, loves the kids. And I love it. I loved every moment of every part of my life so far, and I don't regret any of it. But right now, I'm home and my life is complete.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. So let's tie that back then. So the concepts of what you do in the online space by cutting through the fluff, if you would, by creating a space for individuals to have the work that is necessary done. It's intriguing, isn't it? Like after you go after the thing you desire, it is possible for the other things to manifest. Would you agree?
100%. Absolutely 100%.
So here you are, and you're creating these support services, somewhat like Fiverr. Please explain to those that are listening how valuable Shopify can be to them.
I started e-commerce 13 years ago. My brother's a website developer, and to move one pixel on a screen, let's say there's a banner on a page and we wanted to move it over to the left a little bit, it could take 2 days to do. Now you can build out a whole website, have a store running and have sales in 2 days. So Shopify has changed the whole world when it comes to going from having no idea how to run a business to setting up a store and selling. And it might be you make candles at home, or it might be that you find something online that you can sell as someone else's, or you might have a local shop or a local craft market that makes something beautiful and you just want to sell what they have and you want to share it with the world. Shopify has changed the world when it comes to what you can do. And I used to not like Shopify 6 years ago. I thought that they were a very basic platform. I always suggested other platforms, but now it is the go-to. And up until you make, $10 million a year, Shopify by far is the best platform available.
Now we can go to carolinebalinska.com, or is there another website that you've developed for this?
Yeah, so Just Ask Parker would be the best one, and that's justaskparker.com. And I have everything over there when it comes to helping out newbie merchants.
There's another thing that you did that's new, which is you launched a podcast.
Yes, I did. That again. So everything ties back to helping merchants who are making their first $10,000 a month. Now, there's a lot of podcasts out there that are fantastic that talk about Shopify or e-commerce in general. My podcast only helps people when they're starting out, because if you spend a lot of time listening to podcasts that are probably too advanced for you, you're wasting a lot of time. So I want to make sure every single podcast I put out is specifically aimed at the people when they're in that first up to $10,000. So they've made less than 1,000 sales, they're making less than $10,000 a month. I don't worry. Like you said, I cut out all the fluff. I cut out the things that are not necessary yet. And my podcast is going amazingly. It's a lot of fun. You do this as well. You know how much fun and addictive podcasting is.
Yeah, and I got to listen to your podcast as well, Winning with a Shopify podcast, and it was great. It's great. You're in almost up to the half mark of the century, right? So you're there and you're having a ton of fun. It looks like a bi-weekly podcast, if I'm not mistaken, or a weekly podcast.
Weekly. That's a one thing I decided a year ago. I'm going to do this and I'm going to stick to it. I've done other podcasts, but this one I have been so consistent. I've missed 1 week in the whole year. So I'm very proud of myself over that.
That's great. Congratulations. And with 4 children, right? And a husband. So that's awesome. Now, another thing that we spoke about that I think is a necessary building block to what you're speaking about on Shopify is how necessary it is to have a plan. Could you expand on that, please?
Without a plan, don't move forward. Everyone that comes to me, and Just Ask Parker, what we do is that we help people get their marketing put together. And people come to me all the time and they say, oh, I got told to do some Facebook ads. Tell me how to do them, or tell me how to do this. And I always say, okay, well, what's your plan? What do you plan to move forward with? And 99% of people who come to me don't have a plan. They're not making any money consistently yet. They might make a couple of sales and that's it. I can tell you right now the difference between a successful merchant or any business at all and the difference between someone who's not successful yet is the difference between having a plan or not. I see it in my own life. I'm very much into keeping a 90-day journal, having that 90 days of this is my goal for the next 90 days. I, at my stage of my business, still do this. It's not that I'm telling people, oh, you're not good enough, so you must put together a plan. I tell this to everyone at every level, and I can't stress it enough. Without a plan, forget it. When people come to us, we say, forget all the other tasks. Let's put together your 3-month plan first. It's one of the main tasks we offer. We call it one of our foundational tasks. Let's put together your plan. Let's look over your website, what needs to change. Let's put things together that really need to be done first. And then let's talk about your Facebook ads or your Pinterest ads or whatever else you want to do.
Now, you gave a great highlight to your parents and the impact they had on you, creating the entrepreneurial bug, if you would, in Caroline. Are they still around?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So my dad's in property now. So that's definitely, an entrepreneur is always going to be an entrepreneur, I think.
I totally agree with that. Now, given that value, there's a deep dive we do with a question that really takes some people back. With all of our planning, the concept and the understanding that today or tomorrow, it is possible for us to die. How do you plan for that and interact with that conversation, the conversation of death?
My partner and I talk about this all the time. He's constantly asking me, he's got a very successful business on his own. And he's always saying, what would you put on your headstone? Like, forget all the noise. Is what you're doing really important to you? So we actually talk about this all the time. And one thing that I realized that me being with my family, this family that I have now got, and I love them so much, That is the most important. So while my business is super important at the moment, I want to make the most of every moment I can spend with them. So I want to help other people achieve that as well. And I think that that was a big thing of me going into the online space. My whole thing is helping people create a business that helps them live the lifestyle that they want to live. Because at the end of the day, I don't care if you have $1 million in the bank. If you're not a happy person, if you don't have around you what you want, your $1 million means nothing to you. So yes, make money. It helps you get to that next level. But if you don't have the love and the care and everything, the happiness around you, the money does not mean anything. So for me, my family come first for sure.
I appreciate you sharing that. Now, Parker, where did Parker come from? The Just Ask Parker. Where did his name, or is it a her name? What is it?
Well, exactly. So that was the whole idea. I came up with the name purely because exactly what I teach people, I have been doing for myself. I have bought, sold, started, I've bought businesses, renovated them, done them up, and then sold them again. Now, the thing is that when it comes to Just Ask Parker, it was built purely for that reason. I want to be in a situation, if I want to sell it in a year or 5 years, I can do that. So the name, I don't know, is it male or is it female? It depends who buys it from me, I guess.
I love that. Well, my friend, it's been such a grand opportunity to have the option to give you a call and catch up on the podcast, share that conversation with all that are listening, and to hear that you have not given up. You decided to go on this path. Of course, you've evolved and the way you're approaching business has evolved, but you have not given up. So congratulations on that. Well done. Caroline, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I guess it's just about being happy. Find something that makes you happy, because at the end of the day, there's no point doing anything just for the money. It's never going to make you happy.
Caroline Balinska, again, a great pleasure. A pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.